So today I made a beat to exemplify a few points of my adaptation to rest and bass beats, a sound that's getting pretty popular among young emerging rappers like Fakemink, Osama-san, Netsband and many more. You may have heard the term in the context of Che's sophomore album titled Rest and Bass, which might become the main label for this style of beats. By the way, I love how he references the legend Lil B in the album cover. The production on this album can be described as a distorted Technicolor feather dream, taking prior rage beat elements to the next level. For me, there are three main things that make these beats stand out. First, the electrifying melodies. Second, the hard-hitting drums. And third, the main attribute, the over-the-top distorted 808s. Today, I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to make your own rest and bass beats.
Subscribe.
First, I'll quickly show you the melody, specifically the processing. A topic we'll see more than once in this video is equalization. Right here on the melody bus I have two different EQ instances, but let's talk about the basic one first. As you can see by the curve, it's just a basic low-cut EQ with a little dip at 630 Hz. The goal here is to cut the low end from the melody to leave space for the incoming 808. The 630 Hz dip brings us to the next topic: drums. I went with simple but hard-hitting drums that hit in the high mids to complement the melody. I noticed the snare was getting masked by the melody around 630 Hz, so I used a dynamic EQ on the melody bus to carve out space. Other than that, my drum bus just has a simple compressor, fresh air and a low cut EQ around 100 Hz. That's all you need to know about melody and drums. Enough. Now let's get to the main point of this video: the over-the-top 808. I laid down a basic 808 pattern and increased the release time in the quick sampler so the 808 hits longer. Then I applied a filter within quick sampler which already made the 808 sound bigger. Next, I used Logic Stock Overdrive, setting the tone to 2500 Hz. Just listen to how much punchier the 808 becomes. To push the distortion even further, I used Shaperbox with the drive module in soft clip mode. Now we are definitely getting closer to the sound we wanted. Then I added, again, an EQ followed by OTT for upward compression. So first we cut the high end with EQ and then reshaped it into a firmer, more aggressive tone using OTT. To tame the harsh frequencies, I used a glue compressor to make the signal denser. Take a listen to the A-B comparison. Which one hits harder? That's it for the 808 track processing, but I wanted to take it even further with additional processing on the master bus, which we'll look at in a second.
1 sec.
Most producers slap a soft clipper and a 0 dB limiter on the master bus. Nothing wrong with that, but I found that it takes more than that to get closer to the rest and bass sound. So I used my personal favorite soft clipper, setting the clip range to -5 dB. For even more distortion, I added Logic Stock Expander and tweaked it until it felt similar to a soft clipper. Besides that, I used various EQ plugins to polish the high and low ends. If there's one plugin I'd always recommend for rest and bass beats, it's MoMA.
Free.
But don't get too excited. MoMA alone won't get you there. It only works when combined with all the other plugins doing their job. If you look at our master chain, you'll notice there's no limiter active. To understand why, check out the volume fader in the mixer. Even with all this distortion in the chain, the beat isn't clipping. It doesn't go above 0 dB. At peak it stays under -1 dB. Looking at the metering plugin and measuring LUFs, the beat is pretty loud. For comparison, streaming platforms like Spotify turn down any track above -14 LUFs. That doesn't mean mixes above -14 LUFs are wrong. That's just a level they decided is most pleasing to the average listener. Long story short, I prefer to mix my beats extra loud, and I don't really care if someone tells me to do it differently. Now we are definitely closer to the rest and bass sound. That's it for today's video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.